Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm back to break down this Monday Night Football NFL DFS slate on Draftkings. 2-game slate this week, so excited to break it down. Before we get into it, if you could please leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss any future content that I upload. That would be greatly appreciated. And I have released multiple Patreon packages linked below in the description where you can get access to my projections, my rankings, my data sheet. Some of the stuff I refer to throughout the video, I try to cram as much info into these videos as possible for you guys for free. But if you're interested in some extra bonus content from me, I do have some packages that you can purchase. A great way to support me and a great way to get access to all these tools, which I do think will be beneficial to you in helping you win some money on these slates. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and start breaking down this 2-game slate. As always, on a 2-game slate, we're going to have to discuss things such as game theory because on the main $1 million contest tomorrow night, the $15 entry, there are going to be a total of 176,470 people you're competing with for that $1 million first prize. And then in second place, it drops down to 100,000 real quick. So very top-heavy contest, and if you are competing in it, which I'm sure a lot of you are because these are the fun ones, a chance at $1 million, you are going to have to get different. You are going to have to leverage the field with some different strategies. So I'm going to kind of discuss where my head's at as far as where my projections are and all that fun stuff as of right now. Of course, these can always update with injury news and all that fun stuff, but I do think that we have some pretty good information already. The big one being James Conner is on the COVID-19 list, so he will not be participating in this game. Terry McLaurin and Ben Roethlisberger are both questionable, but I expect them to go in this one. So James Conner, really the big one. Of course, Garoppolo's still out, so Mullins will be the QB for San Francisco. And I think those are really the big ones. I mean, there's some other ones to discuss, but nothing really too big standing out. So first guys that I want to discuss on the slate and my top 2 projected scorers on the slate are that in Josh Allen and Ben Roethlisberger. Josh Allen taking on the San Francisco 49ers. When looking at my QB matchup chart and how they fared against QBs this year, you can see that they're 22nd best team to target in terms of QBs. So not exactly the most elite matchup. Meanwhile, Big Ben is taking on the Washington football team, who also doesn't really supply the best matchup, 21st best team to target. So early on, I mean, both of these teams not really getting the best matchups. The best matchup as far as the QB is concerned is that of the Buffalo Bills, and we'll get to the QBs later on. But I mean, these are my 2 top guys: Josh Allen, Ben Roethlisberger. At the top, I have Josh Allen projected for 20.46 DK points, and Ben Roethlisberger projected for 18.42, and they are projected to be my top valued QBs. But Nick Mullins is my third one. I already discussed. Buffalo is a better target. And we're going to have to decide when stacking up these teams who we're looking to target. And when it comes to picking between these 3, I am going to go with Big Ben because of his price tag and just his overall upside as far as I'm concerned. His team comes in with a currently 25 implied team total compared to 23 implied total for Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. Big Ben's team is projected to go out there and score the most points on the slate as it stands as of now when I'm recording. So with all this stuff and his overall attempts, 51, 46, 46, and 42 attempts his last 4 weeks, he's getting the volume. And he only has 13 and 17 DK points the last 2 weeks, so that can maybe lower his ownership compared to what we would typically see from Big Ben. And he is my number 1 guy, followed by Josh Allen. Josh Allen, a guy that can definitely get it done on the ground. He always has that upside because while he can't throw, he can also run. So he's the first guy that I'm looking to target oftentimes in weeks. It's just that he comes in at a 7.3 price tag. So you're paying a lot more for him than you are for Big Ben. And right now, in my projection model, Big Ben does grade out better. But Nick Mullins, actually, surprisingly, is a pretty good value. He hasn't put up any really big numbers, and that could change this week because the Buffalo Bills really have just not been a good D. And they've been giving up quite a few DK points to a lot of offensive positions. We'll break down, some further guys as we go along here. But those are my top 3 QBs. Those are the guys that I'm looking to start with as far as QBs are concerned. I'm not really all that interested in playing Alex Smith He just doesn't grade out to be nearly as good as a value as those other guys, so he's probably the guy that I'm looking to fade on the slate. And yeah, so those are the guys I'm looking to play at the QB position. As far as running backs concerned, it's fairly obvious. Just there's not really a lot of running back options on this 2-game slate, to be honest. So it all starts with Antonio Gibson at the top. He is my by far preferred running back option, and Raheem Mostert is my second option, followed by you can play J.D. McKissic for some more of a salary relief option with some upside. McKissic has seen a lot of action in the past game, so he's a guy you can definitely have interest in. If you're looking to switch it up at 4-5, looking at his game logs, we can see 2 targets last week, 4 targets the week before. He had 15 to 14 the 2 weeks prior, and it seems as if they're kind of fading him out because of Gibson taking over in this backfield. So on a 2-game slate, anyone's valid, but I kind of feel like Gibson's taking over. This is becoming his backfield, and his counterparts kind of playing second fiddle at this point because Gibson, they invested in him in the draft. They were kind of working him in slowly, and I think that the working him in slowly stage has come to an end. I think that they're going to give him the full reins to this backfield. So he's the guy I'm looking to play, followed by Raheem Mostert. And, as far as how their opponents have fared against running backs, you can see that the Bills are the 12th best team to target in terms of running backs. The 49ers football team and the Steelers are all very impressive against the run. Not really teams we're looking to target. But it's just only a 2-game slate. I mean, you can't be too picky. And, of course, Gibson's matchup isn't as good as Raheem Mostert's. I mentioned he's the main guy I'm looking to target as far as his matchup's concerned. I do think that he's a priority, Gibson being that. If I'm looking to get really sneaky, my first option would be Devin Singletary. My second option would be Zach Moss. Jerick McKinnon, I'm not really all that interested in. I guess you could go there. He's only 4-1, Jeff Wilson, but I just don't think they're going to see the volume with Raheem Mostert mainly dominating that share of the backfield touches for the 49ers. Moving along to the wide receiver position and some of my favorite plays there. It all starts with Stephon Diggs at the top, most expensive wide receiver on the slate, but for good reason. If you look at the workload that this guy's been getting on the year, it's been very impressive. Stephon Diggs getting a 92.4 snap share percentage in the offense, a 28.5 target share percentage overall. The targets headed his way, 105 air yards per game, 21 contested targets thrown his way, and 13 of those he's reined in, so he can go up and get it in the traffic areas. He's got 7 red zone targets and 7 on-zone targets. So Stephon Diggs, by far the most involved out of the options that we have on this slate. And we're looking at his matchup against the San Francisco 49ers. You can see that they are the 23rd best team to target in terms of wide receivers. However, there's not really any good teams to target on this 2-game slate. It's not like, the Steelers are the best team to target. They're the 18th best team to target. But all these guys are pretty good. It's not like there's a really weak secondary that we can look to target on this slate, giving up a ton of DK points. So I think I'm really going to just try to focus in on the guys that are getting the targets, the guys that are getting the snap share. All starts with Stephon Diggs, followed up by Terry McLaurin, who has seen a 26.7 target share percentage in his offense, 95.4 air yards per game, 15.4 air yards per reception, and he's got the red zone targets as well. And he is getting targeted downfield in comparison to the other wide receivers on the slate. Looking at guys for upside and who's getting targeted down the field, my 2 guys that I want to point out are that in first, Davis, and second, Claypool. Looking at how I have that projected right now, you can see I have Gabriel Davis projected for about 9.03 DK points at only a 4.3 price tag. That's pretty good. And then Claypool I have projected for 13.64 DK points. But, the reason I'm really pointing these guys out, of course, is that they're getting targeted down the field. That's what you're looking for when you're looking for upside on these 2-game slates, and maybe some lower-owned guys that guys aren't all too familiar with. I mean, a guy like Gabriel Davis, who's been around the 3K range. Last week he had 16.9 DK points, 0 in week 10. Week 9 he had 17 DK points. It's kind of an all-or-nothing option. He just goes down the field and they bomb it to him. But that's the kind of guy that could really provide the upside for you on a slate such as this one, on a 2-game Monday night slate. So I definitely have interest in him. And then Chase Claypool, a guy that I do think has some name value now. I think he's kind of becoming a more familiar name around the league because of some big performances from him early on in the season. 15, 21, 15, and 11 DK points his last 4 weeks. 9, 8, 10, and 13 targets, though, more specifically. And I do think that this Steelers wide receiver core is where it all starts on this slate. They're all projecting to be, some of my highest scoring wide receivers on the slate. So I'm definitely liking those guys. And then Cole Beasley for the Buffalo Bills would be the next spot that I'm looking for at 4-9. He does grade out to be the best value as far as at the wide receiver position for me on the slate. Comes in with a 4-9 price tag. And once again, he doesn't get the best matchup, but we're dealing with a 2-game slate. No one really has a good matchup in the matchups that we're breaking down as far as wildouts are concerned. And Cole Beasley is a guy that's going to get a lot of those targets in the slot. And he has had a pretty respectable involvement in his offense for these Buffalo Bills. When looking at his numbers, you can see 18.7 target share percentage, which is pretty impressive for a guy that's only out there for about 64% of his team snaps when he's activated. A 90.2 true catch rate and a 75% contested catch conversion rate. A guy that goes with the middle, a guy that can get the job done. He's sure-handed. And just overall in my projections from a DFS aspect, he does grade out to be a pretty good option for me on this slate. Moving on to the tight end position, lastly, and guys that I would be looking to target. It's really just Eric Ebron, Jordan Reed, and Logan Thomas. You could get sneaky with a guy like a Dawson Knox, but not really all too interested in them, and not really all too interested in, the tight end position overall on a showdown slate. Well, it's not really a showdown slate because it's a 2-game slate, so I should be careful with my terminology there. But it's a 2-game slate. It's a smaller slate, and I do think that I have more of a preference in playing some wide receivers if at all possible. A guy like Gabriel Davis, who we just discussed, who can get down the field and is priced at 4-3. A cheaper price tag than some of these tight ends and more upside, in my opinion, at times. But if I'm looking to play a guy, it's Eric Ebron and Jordan Reed. And actually, as far as value is concerned, Jordan Reed does grade out to be one of the top values on the slate for me. So I definitely like slotting him into your tight end slot on the slate just because of his 3.2 salary on Draftkings. I think it's very affordable, and it's going to open up some salary relief for you to be able to put in some of those more top elite options that we talked about, the wide receiver position, etc. So, yeah, that's kind of a little breakdown positionally. Game theory-wise, 2-game slate, I mean, there's not really a big difference in over-unders or implied team totals. I'm not seeing anything that really sticks out from that aspect. Projected snaps-wise, both games profile pretty much identically. Maybe, playing a guy like Benny Snell will give you a little bit of an edge just because he's not a name that people are familiar with. I like to think that the crowd will probably draw to him just because of the fact that James Conner is ruled out. They might just say, oh, he's going to get all the work, and he becomes, one of the top value options. We're going to have to keep an eye on that as the slate gets closer and people are talking. But as far as, how I would be getting different on this slate, I think I kind of already mentioned it, but playing some guys that maybe people aren't all too familiar with, like a Gabriel Davis, and really targeting the big upside guys, the guys that get down the field. Like I said, I try to give you guys a sneak peek of some of the stuff I offer over on Patreon, and you can get access to every single player, on every single slate, but I'm looking at it right now. This is the tool that I use when building my lineups, really, as far as like determining who has high upside. This, of course, you want snap share percentage. You want guys that are out there for a large percentage of snaps here in this first column. But then you have target share percentage. Davis only gets 8.7% of his team's targets, so he's not getting targeted a lot. That's what makes him a good play on these 2-game slate. I don't think he's going to get a lot of ownership, but it's really how he gets down the field. 13.7 average target distance, 14.5 yards per reception. That's what's sticking out to me as far as that's concerned, and that's why I'm promoting a guy like that on this 2-game slate. So, those are the things that I'd be looking to do on this 2-game slate as far as getting different. As far as the running back position is concerned, I don't know if I'm trying to get all that different there. I mean, fading Gibson and Mostert's going to be really hard. Stephon Diggs, Terry McLaurin, these upper tier wide receivers, of course, are the ones that are out there for the majority of the snaps, but getting different would be targeting these guys down here, like a Cole Beasley, like a Davis, like an IU. I mean, the last thing, I haven't really mentioned these Niners players, and that wasn't on purpose, so I should mention, they do definitely have the best matchup on the slate as far as the Bills are giving up the most DK points to most positions. Pretty solid against the wide receiver position, but have been very bad against running backs compared to these teams, 12th best. And then as far as QBs, they are the 6th best team to target in terms of like on the slate. That's a big gap because the Washington football team's the next best team to target, and they're the 21st best team. So maybe playing a Nick Mullins isn't the worst idea. It's just tough when you only get to play one QB and you're slotting him in, but if I'm looking to get different, stacking up those 49ers makes sense to me, so that's kind of a last thought there. And an overall quick breakdown of this Monday Night Football slate. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up here. That's my breakdown for, some ways to get different, some guys that I'll be playing on this Monday Night Football slate to try to differentiate myself in the field and get up there at the top. If you enjoyed the content, please leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. And then don't forget to leave a comment down below of your favorite play on this slate. It's a 2-game slate. I always like to hear the hot takes. It's good to hear from you guys and what you're seeing. If you have any different takes, if you agree with me, let me know. All comments are welcome. And then if you're interested in my Patreon pack, just go ahead and check those out. Link below in the description where you can get access to all these sheets that I go over real quickly. But there's a lot more. Go ahead and click the link and see what that provides you. And that is all from me in this one, guys. I wish you all the best of luck. Go try to win that $1 million, and we will see you in the next one.